What is the second pillar? The second pillar is self-control. You to control yourself. Why do men have to have self-control as a pillar in their lives? Solomon said, "It's better he who rules his spirit than he who takes a city," which means you can be higher than the mayor, the president. You can have more condition to achieve things the so-called great men in this world, because history shows many men who were presidents, governors, great entrepreneurs, who dominated thousands and even millions of people, but had no control over themselves. They betrayed their wives, surrendered to addictions, corrupted themselves for money. They didn't have any dominion over their greed or desires. They dominated a city, the country, but not themselves. So self-dominion, self-control, it's not something common, because the hardest thing is to master your impulses. It's the hardest thing, because we are our worst enemies. It's as if two people live inside us all the time. One side that wants to do good and the other who wants to do evil. One who wants to arrive early at work and the other who wants to lie under the covers because it's cold and you didn't sleep well through the night. We always have this fight every morning when the alarm wakes us up. I want to do what is right, but the other wants to do what is wrong. One side of us wants to be faithful to the wife, a husband to one wife, and do nothing wrong, not to be unfaithful, not to betray, but the other human side of us wants to look at the woman of others. They want to learn how it is to betray. It's the division of good and evil that is within us. Paul spoke about this division. The good and evil is within us. For the good that I will to do, I do not do, but the evil I will not to do, that I practice. He asks for God's mercy because of this inner war in him. This is our daily war. So the man who wins this war, dear friend, it's amongst the few. You as a man who overcome this war against yourself, against your impulses, against your will, I would say you are at the top, in the 1% of the population, because the majority cannot dominate themselves. What do you see in men? Women too, but as I'm saying men, so I always mention the men. What do we see in today's men? We see men who give themselves to pleasures. They look for pleasure, they want to drink, they want to sleep with all women, they want to be on the phone, they want to be playing games, they want to spend hours with idle actions, useless activities. In search of what? In search of what the heart asks for. Our heart will always ask for what it feels, what it wants to do. This is not only me or you. This is the humanity, what our flesh seeks for. Our flesh seeks comfort and pleasure. This is what we are searching for. We want comfort. We don't want work. We want to rest. We don't want to have any conflict with the first pillar, which is trade. For you to have a trade, you need to overcome what? Laziness. When you are lazy, you don't want to do any work. But naturally, we want rest, comfort, and what else? Pleasure. What is pleasure? To feel good things. I want to feel happiness. I want to laugh. I want to enjoy. I want to feel like people like me. I want to have sexual pleasure. I want to have physical pleasure, eat what I want, and to not give account to anybody. I just want to satisfy my desires. This is what the human being wants. But there's a problem with all that. What is the problem? With you always looking for comfort and pleasure. The problem is that you will be a burden, and secondly, your pleasures, your desires can bring you joy at the moment, but in the future, you will pay the price. So you want to eat everything that your eyes see, your mouth desire, no problem. As long as you are young, you might be able to do that and go free. But soon, you will become obese, you will have problems when you climb steps, you get tired, you can't go through medical exams. Anyway, you have several problems because you have always surrendered your flesh to pleasures. This is with food. And what about addictions? What is an addiction? An addiction is an addiction because it brings pleasure. There's no addiction without pleasures. You do repetitively because it brings pleasure. But along with pleasure comes the curse, comes the discomfort. Whatever the addiction, whether cigarette, pornography, video game, online games, betting, whatever addiction you practice, will give you pleasure on the moment, the adrenaline of the moment, but there will be a high price to pay. So this is the problem when you surrender yourself to your flesh, to your nature. I want comfort and I want pleasure. The antidote for this is self-control. It is knowing yourself. So, for example, I tend to put on weight. I have the tendency because I like to eat, but there are people who eat a lot and on the following day they're weighing the same. But when we eat a slice of pizza, we are weighing more. Am I right? Don't you get upset with the guy who eats and never puts on weight? But each has to deal with what they have. So you have tendency to put on weight. So you know your appetite, you know your tendencies, you know the risks. The doctor told you, don't do this or that, don't eat this or that. You must exercise. You need to stop doing nothing. So if you have self-control, whether you like it or not, you have to get up from the table when you know that you already reached the limit, not when you want, but you know. You have to exercise when you have to, whether you like it or not. If you have no time to take care of your health, you have to make time to take care of your disease. You don't want to close your mouth not to eat what you shouldn't, but you have to open your mouth to take medication. That's it. It's better for you to have what? Self-control. You know you have inclination to be a womanizer. You have an inclination to have women's attention on you. You know you have this inclination. And if you have your self-control, you leave those places. So you don't keep talking with women. There's a room at your work, there are only women there, so you don't stay there. Though you are married, your heart likes that attention. If you have self-control, you know, I won't go there because I know if I go there, I will like it, I will enjoy it. And I know, if I get involved with these women, it won't go well. So you know what? As I know myself, bye-bye, God bless you, I have to go. You leave the place. You don't give lifts to women. You don't have a contact on your phone that you have no need to have it. You don't like women on social media, following them on social media. That will only lead you where you shouldn't go. You know yourself. So if you know yourself and you know you will slip up downhill, then don't put your foot at the beginning of the slope. Be far from it. That's it. Self-control gives you sustenance. Self-control makes men to be disciplined in everything, with women, with their body, with their mood. If you know you have the tendency to be a loose cannon, you have the tendency to curse, to say bad things to others, and later you say, why did I say that? You have this tendency, you are short-tempered. Then, if you know it, you need to control yourself. Otherwise, you will lose your job, friendships, relationships, because you become someone who is rude, someone who nobody wants to be close to, because you are unpredictable and you are short-tempered. You have no control over your temperament. So knowing that, you control yourself. Something leads you to an addiction, sever that. If you have to sever from you friendships, if you need to delete the app from your phone, do so. If you have to leave your phone in the living room while you sleep in the bedroom, do that, as the Lord Jesus said. If your hand leads you to sin, cut it off, figuratively speaking. If that is leading you to destruction, cut it off. Do you need to follow those who you follow, or watching the things that you watch, that there's a negative, emotional, spiritual, and mental effect? So cut it off. You don't need that. Control yourself. You choose what you watch, what you hear. You choose what you put into your thinking. You have power over it. So don't live by your feelings. Don't live by what you feel like doing. If you are a slave of your desire will enslave you and you will have no success. The successful people are those who controlled something. You will never find someone successful who didn't have to dominate themselves. They had to dominate themselves. So self-control is the second pillar. If today's video helped you and you know someone that could benefit from it, share it with them, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, you may do so now. See you later.